everybody. Welcome to our school board meeting, April 11th, 2019. Hope you're all watching at home because you're not here. You need to be here. Just kidding. Anyway, we're going to reconvene to our regular session, and could I have you all stand for the flag salute?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting is being televised and recorded for the transcription of the minutes. This meeting will be replayed on MCTV, Channel 27, on Saturday, April 13th at 11:30 a.m. and the following Monday, April 15th, 2019 at 3:30 p.m. At this time, speakers wishing to address the board this evening should turn in completed speaker cards to the board secretary. The report on action taken in closed session, IDAs. IDA number 1920007 was unanimously denied. IDA number 1920008 was unanimously denied. IDA number 1920009 was unanimously denied. IDA number 1920010 was unanimously denied. IDA number 1920011 was unanimously denied. IDA number 1920012 was unanimously denied. IDA number 1920013 was unanimously denied. IDA number 1920014 was unanimously denied. IDA number 1920015 was unanimously denied, and IDA 1920016 was unanimously denied. Okay, could I have a motion to approve the agenda for this evening?
Motion to approve.
Second? Great. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, department updates. Educational Services. Clara Beltrami.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, Superintendent, Cabinet, and our viewers at home. Tonight I'm going to just do a very quick overview of some of the things that are happening in the Educational Service Department. We are really focusing in on our academic core from our MTSS initiative. So at the beginning of the year, we rolled out how we were going to be looking at different criteria in the three component areas of academic, behavior, and SEL. The very first step or stage of these different developments are the core program and common practices. And that's what the focus is going to be of my talk today. We're going to be looking at how we're still rolling out our core programs in the academic world. So this is our 3-year plan of what we are doing with bringing in the new standards and the new curriculum that accompanies those standards. If you look at the beginning section, 2018-2019, that's our very first year of where we are. And we are implementing Wonders for ELA in the K-5. We are implementing our first year of Amplify for ELA in 6 through 8. In math, we are currently implementing Eureka in the K-5, and this is our first year of IM, Illustrative Math, for the 6-8 students. In science, we are using bridging components for this year. We're using Mystery Science for our K-5 students, and we're using Amplify for our 6-8 students. And in History Social Studies for our K-5, we are using the bridging. It's Studies Weekly. It's a news magazine type of curriculum that covers current events and social studies for K-5. And in 6-8, we continue to implement our previous curriculum, which is TCI. And for SEL, we're exploring what kinds of curriculum we will be using. Some of those teachers this year are piloting the Second Step program. That's going on in the K-5 realm right now. So what we're looking for next year is we are going to be piloting science in both the elementary, and if you look at the 2019-2020 column, we will have pilots in place for science in K-5 and 6-8, and we will be piloting history social studies only in the 6-8. And the reason why we're doing just science for the elementary is, if you remember, an elementary teacher teaches multiple subjects, so we don't want to have teachers learning 2 new curriculums in 1 year. So we're starting with the elementary, looking at science to learn that new curriculum, whereas at Taylor, those are departmental teachers, so they only teach either science or social studies, so we can pilot them simultaneously because not every teacher teaches both of those curriculums. So we will be piloting social studies in Taylor, and also we are working on developing the SEL pilot for next year, and we're taking in lots of feedback from the teachers and the site administrators of how they would like that to look. And then going out the following year, we would then start looking at a pilot for social studies for the elementary teachers. So that's the 3-year plan of bringing in new curriculum to our teachers. This is the history social studies timeline that's happening right now. We have the education department led by Julie Constantino working with our middle school teachers. They are having publishers come in, and they're looking closely at the curriculums that they were interested in from the county's presentations, and they're bringing in those publishers to take a closer look at what those different components of the curriculums contain, and they are going to be using a toolkit to guide their ratings on these different components for the social studies program. So our goal by the end of this year is we will have a pilot training in May date where teachers will learn about the pilot that will be, the program that they'll be using at the beginning of the school year. So they're going to be, through this process, choosing 2 different curriculums to look at next year, and the first pilot will begin at the beginning of the school year and run until the December date, and then after that break, they would pilot the second pilot. So by the end of next year, we'll have a decision made, a recommendation coming to the school board of what pilot was vetted out the highest through our process. For the science timeline, we're following that same type of pattern, and this group is being led by Julie DeMaio, and she is bringing in a toolkit training that occurred just this week. The teachers went through a very rigorous training for all of the different components that science is offering now with this new curriculum. It's very hands-on and student inquiry focused, so there's a lot of different components that have been added to our previous traditional science programs. They have also highlighted some other programs publishers that have been invited to come out, and we're just today working with Twig, and I got to see just a real quick time of that program with that presenter sharing with them, and it's a very rich program. There's many different components to it. It has leveled readers, it has an online video that they can watch that tells about current events, it has newsletters, it talks about different jobs that are in the science realm that they might not even know about as developing and thinking about a science lens. So it looked like a very rich program, and so I'm excited to have these in place because I think these will be really engaging programs for our students if all of the publishers are following this type of criteria in their program's design. In the middle school, we are looking at 3 different publishers too, and they're going to be having a closer look at those also. So our goal for science is similar as for social studies. We want to have training occur for our teachers so that when they start the piloting at the beginning of the fall, they'll be ready to go. As I mentioned earlier, because of our tragedy and bad loss of our wonderful teacher, Julie DeMaio has stepped into being a replacement for that school so that she can really help assist the faculty and students with the healing process and their grieving process. She is still going to be working with the piloting for science, and she's been dedicated and wants to have that happen. So big shout out to Julie for taking this all on. In the meanwhile, we did have to take some of her other charges that she's been working on and divide it up among the other people in the ed services. So I'd like to really shout out to Debbie Connect, Julie Constantino, and Jackie Giacomazzi for taking on additional initiatives that we had started at the beginning of the year, so those will be continuing. Induction for teachers, sustainability with the program that's happening at Taylor. We have a lot of different things that Julie DeMaio was working on, and we want to make sure that those are going to be continuing this year. Just another announcement that we are getting ready and geared up for our state testing. So CASP, our California assessment, will be happening in grades 3rd through 8. They are tested in English language arts and math. Those are computer adaptive tests, which means as the students go through the testing, the questions will either get harder if they are answering correctly, or they'll become easier if they are answering wrong. So when we get the results, it's really pinpointing their academic level. Which is a wonderful way of really looking closely at their success. This year, we do have, for the very first time, a live science test. So 5th graders and 8th graders will be taking the CAST test, which is a science. So we are actually testing our students this year on the science standards that we're just going to be piloting next year. So we are going to be really looking at these test results, because this will give us really excellent benchmark assessments of what our students are doing with our previous non-standard programs that we have in place currently, and then see, once we start piloting standards, how those students perform next year on that test. As I mentioned last time we met, I held back the staff survey until after the spring break. So now our staff survey is out and live. I'm hoping that we will get a better participation this year. Last year we only had 62 of our staff, and that's both certificated and credentialed, fill out the survey. This year I'm hoping that we will get better participation and have more input from our staff. It will be closing next week on April 19th. Some of the responses from last year, 84% agreed that they were proud to work at my district or in my department, to work at my school or in my department. 87% agreed that they know what is expected of me to be successful in my work. And 77% of them agreed that staff members at my site or department operate as a team. So those are some of the good findings that we had from last year, and I'm hoping that we can look at a more robust report if we could get more participation. So the Curriculum Advisory Committee has been meeting all year, and they have been working diligently on thinking about things that are needed for professional development at their school sites. And once again, we were following our initiative of looking at academic, behavioral, and SEL, and they were tasked to go back to their sites and get input from the teachers and staff at those school sites to let us know what areas they would really want to see in professional development. And this chart is the culmination of all of their input. So you can see that they've identified areas in all of these 3 realms. Some of them kind of tie over because they touch on all 3. Some are really looking at just, like, for example, classroom behavior is really for, classroom management is really in behavioral. And so we are going to be looking at this input from our teachers now and developing what we want to do for the next 3 years with professional development. One of the other things that they really pinpointed for us was to build in collaboration time. A lot of the teachers' feedback felt that they needed time to really sit together and talk about what's going on, have teacher expertise help guide some of the other things that someone else might be struggling in, and really use the wealth of knowledge that we have within our own staff. So this is one of the things that we will be working on with Ed Services as we develop what the 2 days of professional development will look like next year. We wanted to take this into consideration to see if we could put together a really robust day for the teachers and classified staff. They also are interested in providing grade level articulation. They want to look at the grades that the students are coming from and going out to, so that they can talk about what students need in order to be successful in that next year. And they really want to look at 5th grade teachers having some time with 6th grade teachers, so they can articulate what are some of the skills that are needed for the children as they go into Taylor Middle School. Another component that they were interested in is continuing the PBIS. We now have PBIS, which is that positive strategies or positive intervention for student success at their sites, at all 5 of our schools, and we have leadership teams set up at each of those sites, and they feel that this is a really important component to help with student behavior, and they want to see this continue next year too. So these are just a list of things that the Ed Services Department's going to be looking at for the end of the year. We have a good list of things here that we're going to be planning on and preparing for. We're looking at the LCAP coming up, because a lot of the work that we do is reflected in all of the actions and goals in the LCAP. We also are looking closely at bringing Data Zone into the teachers' hands more. Right now, it's still at that developmental level, and we're trying to bring the data so that teachers can look at their classrooms, what the students are performance levels at daily, and in an easy manner, so that they can just click in a few boxes and be able to get reports that are very meaningful and help guide their instruction. We're planning the ordering of textbooks for next year, and we're looking at professional development and preparing for the pilots. We also are starting to begin our new teacher orientation days for next year. We want to get feedback from our principals on what they feel is really needed for those teachers to get the information they need to get prior to starting school with the staff days that we have. We're also trying to continue in identifying our Tier 1 interventions. We want to know exactly what's happening within that core instruction time. What are teachers doing to help those students who are struggling within their own classrooms? And we're also monitoring our English language learners to make sure that they're getting the English development time that they really need. So, are there any questions or comments?
I have 2 things. Recently, we discovered that there was some incorrect data being used by the state to evaluate I guess it was the dashboard.
Yes, the
color.
California dashboard.
Has that been resolved? Is that
We were advised by the State Department. I reached out to them, and they informed me that we can't correct the data because they don't go back in years to change those reports. So what they advised me to do is to add a disclaimer on the dashboard. So when people go to the California dashboard and they look at Millbrae, there is a disclaimer that says that chronic absenteeism is incorrect data. So therefore, it shouldn't be looked at through the colors, the change colors, because it's not correct. It doesn't reflect any changes in our chronic absenteeism.
Will they do that, or they want us to do that?
I've done that already.
Okay.
They instructed me on how to include that in our dashboard. So I included that on our dashboard.
Well, thank you for doing that. It would be nice if they did it, since it's their issue.
Well, their rationale for it is that the data was entered and that's what they would go forward with. So next year it will be clean because it will be our good data from this year compared to the data from last year, which is all going to be good, clean
Well,
data.
thanks for taking care of that, because that was really an issue for me. And then the other one is we did agree to do a beta site on a science program at one of our campuses. Has that started?
Yes, that's the Amplify bridging pilot.
No, the Science for Scientists.
Oh, the Science for Scientists.
Yeah.
So we are right now investigating the different components of Science from Scientists. I was able to go out and spend the day while the organization was providing the service, and I got to observe the lessons in the classrooms 2 weeks ago, and now I'm going out and looking at their mystery science lessons to see if they are collaborating and building on each other. And I'm going to be preparing a report after I do all of my investigation and present the findings at a upcoming board meeting.
Great. Thank you.
On that note, Claire, can we give Julie DeMaio some release time to be able to go with you to observe the program as well? Since she is our science TOSA, I would hope that, she would
That's a
have
wonderful
some
idea. I hadn't even thought
input,
of it.
to go with you, because it's really, I think that's important for her. And I know she's busy, and big shout out, Julie, for having the heart and doing this for all of our kids. So I really appreciate her. But I'm hoping that maybe that'd happen.
Okay, I will definitely look into that and
See if
bring
we
it up
can
to
do
her and
something.
see.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did anybody else? I had a question. We okay? Okay. So my question was, I thought that our local assessments had already been input on data zone. No?
No.
Some schools?
Well, we're working on it. So our local assessments are STAR, and that's the Lexile, and for 2nd through 8th grade. And I believe those are on Data Zone, but we're still working on bringing in DRA and our writing on demand, our writing assessment, and then we're still looking for a benchmark for math. So we're and then the last one too is also, we did a SEL survey for our students in grades 3 through 8, but that still hasn't been brought onto the dashboard. And then we also did the interim assessments for our students 3rd through 8th, and we haven't gotten those onto the dashboard yet. So we are still working on some of the local things that we do.
Great. Thank you. Any other questions for Claire? We okay? Thank you. Okay, business services.
Oh, I had a fade in. I know, real fancy. Good evening, trustees. A real quick, brief update from the Business Services Department this evening. Just real quick, the Budget Advisory Committee, which was slated a week from tonight on April 18th, due to a scheduling conflict, has been moved back 7 days. I've emailed all the committee members. It's noted on the website, and all the committee members have responded except for just a couple that I've reached out to. And any committee member that could not be part and cannot attend on the April 25th date, I've reached out and made myself available for a one-on-one conversation. But tonight is my infomercial to all the people at home that are not on the committee members that would like to join us. It is on April 25th at the district office from 5:30 to 7. Some takeaways from that night, we'll be discussing the second interim financial report, the Measure N second interim report. We're going to focus in and discuss what district certification means to a district, and also the importance of reserves, and some next steps. And that'll be April 25th. As identified in our facility walk and from our stakeholder outreach and surveys, I will be also walking on April 25th, the same day. It'll be a busy day, with Captain Paul Conkle, who is the Sheriff's Office appointee for the city of Millbrae. As you know, he's also approached this board, very outgoing sheriff officer. And we are going to walk each site, and we had this in our facility plan update, to get the eyes and lens of a professional. And so when we put our facilities needs together, we'll bring in those inputs from his office. It's a community outreach, so those are the times and the dates, and this is all on the same date, but the times of the schools. If you have time on your schedule, trustees, please join us. It's on the half hour starting at 8:30. It'll be a 45-minute community outreach also. But we'll be focusing, of course, on facility planning and site security, and I'll be taking notes and we'll be addressing each site. But it's also an opportunity for any of those that are here tonight and on MCTV to join us, and Captain Conkle is very excited to meet the community of those surrounding areas. Okay. Quick update on our Prop 39 energy savings program, which we board approved last board meeting. We had our first pre-construction meeting with our team. Projected start date is the Monday after we finish instruction, so June 10th. Our planned schedule for converting all of our lights in our district from fluorescent to very energy conserving LED fixtures. It'll take us all the way through July. So we're on track, knock on wood, to start saving $60,000 projected every year from that fix. Okay. Little update from the summer. In addition to a lot of busy maintenance projects this summer, painting and new window coverings and some new blacktop resurfacing, we have a number of, again this year, of third-party vendors that will be utilizing our district, from Adventures in Riding to Camp Brainy Bunch to our Jump Start. This is our internal, and Cappy Hall, as you see, La Garza. They will be at these sites. This is our advertisement for those groups, that there's still plenty of signups, and please visit their websites to join their programs. At Spring Valley, we have not yet put another vendor there yet, so this is my plug at 650-697-5693, and please call. We have space for you, and I would like to talk to you, in other words, for this summer or the next summer.
Rick, do you have operators standing by?
Yes, at 650-697-5693, extension 012, Angela Smith. And speaking of facilities, ever since we've been doing it for the last 3-4 years here at the district, our Shea Center is now expanded use, so it's not only just an area where we serve lunch to our Taylor staff, but also it's been utilized for the city of Millbrae for adult sports and third-party sports in summer. As you know, as they drive in, sometimes depending on if you're going with Siri or Google Maps or wherever, you can come in from 2 points of entry, one off Richmond, which most people do because it's got the bigger parking spot. And then they get confused because they don't see where the Shea Center is. They just see a big building, as you can see, from this parking lot. Or they come off Taylor, which has got a smaller parking lot, and it does say the Caroline Shea Center. So as of now, I'll remove, and now it says the Caroline Shea Center on that side of Richmond when you come into our thing.
Yay, that's nice.
And this was a home done. Our dynamic Rudy and Raul put this sign up. So we're very conservative in our limited budget to put this together. But now it really shows on both ends of where they're at in our district. So I do expect more follow through and when people come through. And then that's our, I don't know why the computer's not working. That's our update. Any questions?
This may not be for you, Rick, but do we ever participate in the Ledge Days up in Sacramento? Have we ever sent anybody up?
And your mic, which days? What?
When you go visit the local politicians? I think they just had it. I saw it in the paper.
Well, you know, I belong to a number of organizations from CASBO to CASH, and so does the superintendent, so does our other staff, and we do participate in it, but not in the legislative day where I've done it in my prior life, where we've gone to the Sacramento, and you know, and those kind of processes.
I saw a picture of a lot of board members and staff. Oh, sorry. So we're talking about the Ledge Days in Sacramento, and it seemed like there was a good number of people represented, and it just might be something we want to consider. I don't know how effective it is from previous experience, but maybe just to once a year send some people up there and visit with our local representatives.
I know, and
Well, you can, because it's part of the San Mateo CSBA. So last time, we elected 3 people to go to be the board of directors, and those are the groups that go on the bus, and a lot of the board members that you have the opportunity to go with them on the bus and go to Sacramento. And it's once a year, and every year, if you want, I can send you the information, but yeah, if you are interested in that for next year, I can put you on the list, or if
That'd
you're,
be good.
yeah.
That'd be good. So
Yeah, I
I think we
can
should at
connect you.
least have some feedback.
I can, actually, I'll forward you some of the stuff that I have from the meeting, so I'll give you some notes, actually. So,
Thank you.
And Trustee Fahmy, you know, we attend coffees, you know, with our local representatives, and our door is always open for local representatives to come see us. And a number of them have taken advantage of that, too, over the last couple of years.
Good, good. Thank you. Thanks, Maggie.
Any other? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
You better stay up there, though, Mr. Committee report. Budget Advisory Committee, parcel oversight.
The only committee report, there's nothing to report on the committee report for the Budget Advisory Committee except for the change of date. We'll be meeting on April 25th, which is 2 weeks from tonight.
Okay. And Facilities Committee meeting?
And on the Facilities Committee meeting, trustees, I will be bringing dates forward. There's 2 of you, Trustee Fahmy and Trustee Barbaro, that are on the Facilities Committee. I like to schedule some dates for coming up for the summer because there's some decisions that we would need to discuss in our committee so we can bring forth to the board about some, you know, possible expenditures, and also to start addressing the funding gap issue that we'll have with the plan going forward and how we would address and start messaging that out. So it doesn't mean we have to start meeting this summer, but it would be nice to start putting that together because there is other committee members that are internal. So
Okay.
start going forward through. So that's, obviously, there's nothing to report for that committee tonight, but just next time we'll bring forth some dates.
Thank you.
So now, 6.2, no, we're up to 7.3. Moving right along. Social Emotional Learning, SEL Advisory Committee.
Trustees, our staff just handed you a cover sheet regarding the Superintendent's SEL Advisory Committee update. I wanted to just provide the board where we were, where we are, and where we plan to go. In terms of the work that we've been tasked with, our committee has dwindled down. However, we still have representatives from every single site, and we have a team of parents who have been super supportive and a huge asset to our initiative. In terms of where we are, we've created a parent newsletter, Volume 1. We've created a staff newsletter, Volume 1 as well. It's included in your packet. We've also created a strategic plan document that was extremely important because this guided the work that, it's guiding the work that we're doing. It is not in your packet, it's with me, it looks like this document here. What I wanted to do for the board was provide bullet points in terms of how the strategic plan is outlined. In terms of the work of the committee, what we wanted to focus on, which is highlighted in the strategic plan document, is we wanted to identify district, school site, and community leaders. We wanted to ensure that community and stakeholder engagement was a part of our process. We also wanted to take a look at additional funding sources, as well as possibly aligning and allocating our own funding source from our general budget. We wanted to take a look at curriculum and materials to ensure that our teachers should we ask them to deliver a curriculum or implement a curriculum that would be accessible to them. We also wanted to take a look at district, school, and community signature practices. We also wanted to align our professional development, and as a part of our strategic plan, we also wanted to take a look at a comprehensive mental health program. And so those were the key components under this larger document that we're working on. And we're happy to celebrate that we've developed a purpose and roles and responsibility for the committee. We've certainly established the need for SEL. We've taken advantage of updating our principles, providing newsletters for our staff as well as our parent community. The parent representatives has tasked myself to attend PTA meetings, to have the conversation about our initiative and what it looks like in the classroom and what our hope is in terms of the parent connection. We have been researching best practice from classroom curriculum to signature practices in other school districts. And we will be recommending the implementation of second step curriculum. That was our last objective for the latest advisory committee meeting. We have been extremely blessed to have been selected as the fund-in-need for both our Millbrae Education Foundation's fund-in-need as well as the Peninsula Chinese Business Association for their annual awards and fundraising events. We also have to give a shout out to the Rotary, the Millbury Rotary, that has adopted us as well as part of this initiative. The concern from the committee was the cost of the curriculum. With supports from those service organizations, we're able to fund every single last item for a rollout beginning in September of 2019. Our next committee work will take place on April 25th from 3:15 to 4:45 at the district office. Certainly, board members are invited to be participants and be part of the process. Our teachers and our community members are invited as well. The work for these last two meetings are how do we plan to implement the curriculum for 1920? What does professional development look like? Where do we plan to carve out time and space in the instructional day? For example, Taylor is looking at an advisory period to implement the curriculum at the middle school. We will take advantage on the 25th to help our teachers design what it can look like district-wide and in the classrooms. We also are taking a look at how we plan to present this information during open houses slated for May and June. The parent group is taking a look at how we can set up a booth or have students do skits from the curriculum second step during open houses as either a booth or a classroom that parents can visit that evening. And lastly, we're looking at signature practices in the areas of meaningful engagement. And so teachers will be looking at that, and I'll bring in resources on the 25th as well. And so I'm extremely proud of the committee. I'm super excited that folks continue to come and be part of the conversation because this is an initiative for the district. And we're also excited in terms of the responses from our community partners. That's the update on social emotional learning. Any questions from the board?
I just have a comment. I think, kudos to you, Vaughn, and the district office staff for putting so much energy in a very sensitive and very much needed subject. I also just wanted to comment on the parents that are involved in this committee. They have taken a very huge leadership role in going out to the larger community to mentor or to get the word out there. And what they said at our last meeting was that many of our parents, many of our members of our community, they don't know what SEL is. So I'm so happy to see this newsletter and hoping that's going to kind of bridge something. And then also the way this fits into all areas of the curriculum. This just isn't an isolated piece, and SEL doesn't happen at from 9:10 to 9:30 in the morning. It's like all day long, and I just think it is just so necessary and so needed, and I'm so glad we're doing this. So thank you, everybody who's involved with this. It's amazing. So thank you, Vaughn.
I have a comment. There's a lot of work going on at the high school level and even beyond. Attendant to Stanford University is very involved in SEL, and a lot of that relates to that kind of the suicides that occurred a couple years ago in Palo Alto. And there's a lot of discussion, there are a lot of programs that I think would have application at some point at our level. I don't think they're there right now. The Peninsula Healthcare District sees SEL as a real priority this year. Mental health for kids, both in high school and elementary. So I think we need to stay in touch with them, not only about possible funding, but also connecting with these other larger programs that I think I was glad to see the best community practice as part of what you're doing, because there's a lot of great ideas out there, including drop-in centers for kids after school, and there are things that we may not even have thought about yet. So let's keep looking for community partners. And I do very much appreciate the funders that have come forward. It's tremendous. I've never seen anything like it, where you have a funded need at the level that we achieved. So thank you all.
All right. Communications to board. Speakers wishing to address the board on items on the agenda may complete speaker cards and submit them to the board secretary. Speakers addressing specific items on the agenda will have opportunity to address the board at the time of the agenda item in the meeting. If you're addressing the board on non-agenda items, please be aware that the provisions of the Brown Act prohibit the board from acting or discussing such matters at this meeting. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes per person per topic. So I'd like to invite anyone from MEA or CSEA, MEF, members of the community.
I thought that was a hand.
And so I know the folks up here have a lot to say. So let's start with trustee communication and trustee Barbaro.
Well, yeah. The Chinese Business Association, we were there over the last 2 weeks ago, and how funny how much fun we had there, and how welcome we were to be at that event. The people at my table thought that we were a big deal being there, and they did I say it right?
I think the Chinese.
You mean the cultural awareness thing?
The last
Taiwu?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
that wasn't PCB.
That wasn't PCB.
It was a new committee formulated.
Yeah, there was.
Community outreach, I think.
Cultural.
Oh, no. I'm talking about the.
That was like 3 weeks ago.
That was 3 weeks ago, yeah. Yeah, okay, it was 3 weeks ago, yeah. Yeah, it was, I was talking about the right dinner. That's down my list.
Oh, that one is on your.
Yeah, that's on my list.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
I'm sorry to have to correct you in public.
Absolutely.
No, I sat with some business owners that were really large contributors to the school district. And they made a joke that they argued about who was going to sit with the school district. And they had a lot of questions for us while we were having dinner. But I was really, really taken back on how welcome we were and how happy they were that we came. Because it's the first time that I think I've ever been to their function and met some of the people at my table. So that was really good. That was very fun. We have coming up, we just had the student of the year for our 5 schools at the Rotary Club. And I happened to be Trustee Fama's guest for that day. That was a couple of days ago. We were at the Terrace Cafe, and it was pretty, like, not real formal. It was kind of informal. There was about 50 or 55 people there. But it really meant something to me to sit at a table with a Taylor student, the Taylor principal, Ken Milch, the Taylor PE teacher, the student, the parents of the student, and get a chance to talk to them and see how proud they were for the Rotary Club to acknowledge their child as Student of the Year at the middle school. And so the other 4 schools were fantastic. The principals all got up, they talked a little bit about the student, and to me, that takeaway was it was a real close connection to parents, principals, students, you know, and the Rotary too. They did a really good job. So I was really, really happy to be there. They were happy that the school district was there, of course. I think Vaughn had something to say, but got a little cut off by Deirdre there, but that was okay. Everybody shared a little bit. So that was really nice. Going down the list here, we have Spring Valley Family Baseball tomorrow coming up, and the Lions Club is going to go in from 2 to 3 o'clock, and we're going to barbecue hamburgers, hot dogs, and grilled cheese sandwiches. And so I'll be down there volunteering with the Lions. That's going to be something I'm looking forward to. And this Saturday is the Leo's Dinner, sponsored by the Lions Club. And the Lions are going to have a dinner at 5 o'clock at St. Dunstan's this Saturday, 5 o'clock to 7. It's going to be hosted by Leonardo's Deli. And the Lions Club has donated graciously $1,500 to have this free dinner for all the Leos and their families and anybody in the community that wants to come. So they asked me to invite everybody tonight to come to St. Dunstan's at 5 o'clock, 5 to 7, and honor our Leos for all the support that they give the community in Millbrae. Moving down the line, one last thing, I just wanted to make a comment on the city of Millbrae, the Public Works Department, and the contract that they had in front of Taylor Middle School this past week, the week of spring break. They were there, they dug up the whole front street of Taylor Boulevard in front of the school. They worked from 7 a.m. in the morning. They got everybody up pounding cement. But that was okay because the takeaway was they were done at Thursday at 4 o'clock. They cleaned everything up and it was like they were never there. And so Friday, they thought that they would have to be there Friday. But they told me, no, we're a day early. And so they left. So that was really nice. So the opening Monday, nothing was there. So that was good.
Trustee Barbara, if I can parrot that
Yeah.
compliment, they emailed us too, weeks leading up to that. And so we messaged that out through the Taylor newsletter through Principal Zader too. So yeah, they were very cognizant of the dating. So they arranged their schedule to do that so it wouldn't impact our school.
Yeah, I mean, I had to tell the guys that were on the job, they were working vigorously, you know, so they did a really good job. So that is it.
Good. Thank you, Frank. Trustee Fama?
Thank you. I want to go to Frank's event. I've never seen a barbecued grilled cheese sandwich. That should be, I think that sounds great.
I'll burn one for you.
Now I'm hungry. Frank mentioned the Rotary Club, and I'm always so proud of my club because they really care about the schools, and it's very important to them to have the Student of the Year and the upcoming Teacher of the Year award, and all comers are welcome. Anybody that would like to attend this is welcome to come. So, and I thank you, Frank, for showing up for that. I don't really have much more. I know that, is it the Community Cultural Outreach? What's the name of that organization? It's a new organization in town that had a wonderful celebration. I think there were over 350 people there at the Taiwu restaurant. And it was really an integrated community activity where the superintendent, the city manager, and the police chief talked about their respective areas of responsibility and answered questions. I think that, and I want to congratulate our superintendent. Vaughn did a terrific job under difficult circumstances because they wanted to kind of have a panel, but with a room full of 300 people, it's very difficult to have a quiet conversation. But you did a wonderful job answering the questions, and thank you for doing that and representing us so well. And thanks to all of our trustees who came to that event. And Frank's right, I mean, people were, I'm not going to say they were impressed, but they thought, oh, the school board is here, this is really nice. And I got to meet a number of people I've never ever met before, and they seemed, they knew about our school district, they had really good questions for us, and I think that's the kind of collaboration beyond funding that we have to keep up. We have to keep up that community communication. So I was really pleased to be there. So I thank you all for coming too.
All right, just one quick thing. Monday night, I went to Taylor PTA meeting, and the two things were happening. One, the 8th grade math teachers, Martin and Rodinsky, right, Bob? They did a whole, it was a great turnout, it was huge. The room was packed with parents, and they did a whole presentation about the new math, illustrative math. And they had like a workshop, and the parents got to get on the website, and they did all these math problems. And I was shocked that probably 80% of the parents probably didn't know how to solve the math problems. It was really sad. But anyway, it was a really good turnout, and it was a great educational night. Parents came out having a better understanding about the math, which is a great thing. The second thing, and I don't know if we've ever had this at Taylor, they had a PTA board elections, and we actually had multiple people running for the PTA president. It was exciting, yes. And they stood up, and they ballots, and we had multiple people running, and then they did a whole they did their whole 5-minute, talk about themselves, and yeah, we did, and we got a full board. We got the recording secretary, treasurers. I mean, it was just hospitality. I mean, and we really had a full-on elections. It was really exciting to see it happen at Taylor. So yeah, we do have a new two PTA president. I won't tell you who they are, but. Huh? 2 presidents, co-presidents, yeah. Anyway, that was fun to watch. Yeah, I mean, to me, that was really exciting to watch Taylor, of all the support that we've tried to give them, and I think it's turning around, and it's a great, parents are excited to come in and volunteer and help, and it's a positive thing to see, yeah, so, yes, yeah, great, from the principal and the APs and the staff working together. So, yeah, thank you. That's it.
Well, to add to Trustee Musa's comments about how Taylor is seeing the increased spirit, and participation in the PTA, and I certainly, noted that the Taylor PTA, when they were involved in our joint meetings between the school district and the MEF, I think so often it's a matter of providing support, and I think the outgoing president was very cognizant of the support that she felt she was getting from the school district, and I think we did make, as a group, make a concerted effort to try to show support for the Taylor PTA. And hopefully a byproduct of that was that people felt motivated and encouraged to be participants in the PTA process at Taylor, which, as most of us know, can be a challenge when you're talking about the middle school PTA. And sometimes folks don't realize it's needed just as much on the middle school level as it is in the lower grades. So I'm very pleased to hear that, we had that kind of participation. One item that I also wanted to comment on that was mentioned previously was the multicultural awareness community meeting that we attended. My observation on it was really heartening to see the obvious camaraderie and goodwill and cooperation between the city manager, Tom Williams, Chief Kunkel, and our own superintendent. This is something that wasn't always the case, and certainly I think it's very much a reflection of our own superintendent's efforts to join the community, because I think that's part of the ongoing awareness now of the community, that they feel the bond between these three elements of the community. And again, I think it only helps us that the city management, the police department, and the school district are walking hand in hand, so much more so than they have in the past. So that can be nothing but a positive in my view. Lastly, I wanted to chat about an item that's actually in the consent agenda, only from the standpoint of pointing out something to the community as a whole. One of the consent items is the sealing of the blacktop at Spring Valley. And, these are things that maybe we take for granted. It's not something that, we hear talked about, and, all of a sudden, people come back to school and, oh, something looks different. The blacktop was sealed. And for obvious reasons, from a safety standpoint, from the ongoing upkeep of our schools, these are important things to note. Because certainly when I came on the board several years ago, this type of upkeep was not evident. It may have been occurring, but it didn't seem to be, and certainly I don't think we were getting the kind of notification that, hey, we're doing these things to take care of our schools. And certainly it's not as simple as you and I paving our driveway, okay? If you look at the mountain of paperwork that's involved in just the blacktop, you got to make sure these people are bonded, that they've got their contractor's license is current, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's a ton of detail that goes into something that almost nobody would notice. So I take my hat off to our chief business official and his staff, for working so tirelessly and seamlessly for things that, typically would not be noticed, but, I wanted to give you a big thanks for it.
Yeah, those are certainly the items that don't appear sexy, right? They're just kind of, you talk about those that are kind of out front, but the blacktop, we hear a lot about trip and falls, right? And so to avoid all those trip and falls, it's these folks that take care of that. So I want to second that, Rick, that your department does all that behind the scenes and doesn't really get a lot of recognition. So thank you, Dawn, for mentioning that. I think my colleagues have taken all my thunder. The only thing I can tell you today is that I did a RIF day at Lamita Park. And RIF is Reading is Fundamental. And it's where every child at Lamita Park gets to take home a free book. Now, the RIF program has been in business for a lot of years. And so I was telling all the little ones from TK up to 5th grade about who started the first RIF program. Do any of my friends know on the board who started RIF? Anybody? Audience? No? Okay, I'm going to tell you. Yeah. It was Barbara Bush. And Barbara Bush, and one little guy, not little guy, he was a 5th grader, I had mentioned this last year to them, that it was Barbara Bush that started the RIF program. And one 5th grader said to me today, I said, so what else is Barbara Bush known for? And he said, well, she was not only the wife of a previous president, but also the mother of a president. I thought that was really cool that he put those. I didn't even think about that. Very perceptive. So anyway, she was really aware of the fact that some kids never have books in their hands. And if they do, they had to have been bought. And so she wanted to do free books for all children. And her little buzz line was, if you don't know how to read, you will not succeed. So we were kind of, doing that whole mantra today, which was really fun. Anyway, I love RIF Day. I wish, we did it at every school, but it really is a great thing for kids, and they think they're getting $1 million when they put one of these little books in their hands. So that's my story, and I'm sticking with it.
Not too many people know this about Lynn, but our board president does write questions for Jeopardy. I've seen the tagline, so thank you for sharing.
So now, our superintendent is going to give his report, and I want some little good kernels, Jeopardy, trivia.
Good evening, trustees. Just a quick updates for the superintendent's update tonight. First, thank you, Trustee Barbaro and Trustee Fama, for being at the Rotary Student of the Year luncheon. It was pretty special, and not that Ms. Gladwin cut me out. I think she just forgot that I was part of the program, and so I want to give this opportunity tonight to thank her. She's been instrumental in working with our principals, as well as ensuring that we select the 5th grade student and the 8th grade student for this special event. It's held annually at the Terrace Cafe, and it's a representative of the work that we do to select the particular 5th grader and particular 8th grader. And all these students did represent some of the motto that we live with, and that's inspiring others. But for this particular Rotary, their motto is service above self, and it was a special luncheon. It's truly special. We look forward to it. It's a tradition for us, and the principals are all there with the families, and the student and the teacher who selected that student or a representative. And so we thank the Millbrae Rotary for this annual event, and we do certainly look forward to it annually. Something new this year that we plan to utilize our low-performing grant. That grant was approved by the board at one of our last meetings. And one of the things that we plan to do as part of the LCAP engagement process is to visit every single campus. And our visits are titled, or will be titled, School Site Asset Visits. And we're going to take time out. There will be a representative from our Educational Services department, either our Assistant Superintendent of Ed Services or a team member from Ed Services and myself. We plan to visit every single campus to have a release of each grade level. We'll bring in roving subs, and the purpose of our meeting is just to do a check-in. A sample day would be that we would meet with every single kindergarten teacher for an hour, every single 1st grade teacher for an hour, all the way to 5th grade, and then certainly content and grade level specific at the middle school. Our job is just to check in and just to see how they're doing. What does collaboration look like at the grade level? What does an engaging practice look like at the grade level? What does differentiation look like at the grade level? And certainly, how are you doing? What can we do? What input can you give us as we're crafting the LCAP process for next year? Are there certain supports that are needed? Are there certain outside of the box thinking that may best support your classroom instruction and ultimately your instruction for our students? And so we have 3 schools slated. Lamita Park, Thursday, April 18th, we'll be there all day. Spring Valley, Friday, April 19th, and at Meadows, Thursday, April 25th. Trustees, if your schedules allow, not all day, but come and just to see. It's going to be the same questions and an engagement process. The feedback we got was when it happens after school, it's a very it's a larger forum, if you will, when there's all staff that are there, and so we wanted to make it more personal. And so we get a chance to speak with each grade level specifically just to see what their needs are all day. And so we'll schedule 8:15 to 9:15 kinder, 9:15 to 10:15 1st grade. And so if you can make it just, part of the day or, half a day, we certainly will take a lunch break with the staff as well. And so it is our opportunity just to dig a little bit deeper into where our staff, what the needs are at each individual grade level. The Millbury Fun Day, slated for Saturday, April 27th from 3 to 6. Our families and our students and our teachers can log on to their accounts at mefwalks.dojiggy, which is dojiggy.com. Our goal this year is just only 100,000 to support the programs that we were slating for next year, and that will meet our $650,000 goal for the year. We're already at 2,700, and it just began this week. And so this particular fun day, students will engage in the same process as they did with the MEF Walkathon. There are class competitions, and there are school sites and classroom competitions. The BMX bike show performance is that prize once again to either to both highest percents of students signed up within a classroom, and then also the class per campus that raises the most dollars. So there's an opportunity for two classes. There will be sports activities in the Shea Center. There'll be prizes. There'll be food trucks. The music department is putting on a show for us. And most importantly, it's going to be a lot of fun. So please mark your calendars. Come out. It's at 3 to 6. Come and hang out. Do some sporting activities, as well as sample some of the food trucks that will be there at the Shea Center. And we encourage our families and our staff to come out. Lastly, here are some save the dates. We have a non-work day for our families, no school on April 22nd, fun day once again on the 27th. Trustee Fema alluded to the Rotary Day of the Teacher, hosted by the Rotary once again at Terrace Cafe on May 7th. The Community Bike Rodeo and Safety Fair is slated at the Shea Center on May 11th, that's Saturday. And then on the 24th, we have two items going on that day. A spring concert at Green Hills for our elementary music program at 8:30 a.m. And you have flyers in your packet, but it's Miss Kim Buckite's retirement party. She's inviting the entire district to the Devil's Canyon on May 24th from 5 to 8 p.m. If your schedule allow, please let's go honor her and her service. And then lastly, our last MSD MEF Council joint meeting, which we will slate for our volunteer, honoring our volunteers at the Taylor Media Center on Tuesday, May 28th at 6 p.m. And that's my update for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just reading over all these dates. Okay.
What is it?
It's like the TV station.
Oh, the TV station, okay.
Yeah, the media center, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Vaughn. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. All right. District business. Public School Volunteer Week, April 22nd to 26th. Vaughn?
Trustees, I think, President Fema, I think we need to go back to agenda item 11.4.
Oh, I thought I skipped that. That was part of the
Oh,
consent
that was,
agenda.
I'm sorry, I apologize.
That's okay.
I,
I've done that before. I've done it.
the CBO was giving me side eye. I wasn't sure what that meant.
Side-eye. There's a-
Ooh, he threw you under the bus. He threw you under the bus on that one.
President Farrow, you're correct. I am slated, that's what the I was for. I'm slated for the Public School Volunteer Week. The California Department of Education is encouraging school boards to acknowledge our Public School Volunteers Week, which is held every third week in April. And so tonight, I do want to honor and would like the board to consider recognizing this as a Public School Volunteer Week. To extend the appreciation for our volunteers, we will be holding the last joint meeting in May to honor our volunteers, our PTA presidents, our MEF executive boards, and so we will hold that night as a special thank you and appreciation. Tonight, however, I wanted to recommend to the board to approve that we do recognize the week of April 22nd to the 26th as the Public School Volunteer Week.
Move to approve?
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Well done, volunteers. For sure. Okay. Possible future agenda items. Taylor Master Schedule, Facilities User Group, Alcohol Policy, Language Immersion. Anything you'd like to add to the list? Are we good? Anything? Wow. All right. So if there's nothing else for this evening, I'm going to adjourn this meeting. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, good meeting.